All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial. Essentially, gathering insight, inspiration really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Joy Wardroup. Joy, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I'm honored to have you on the show. I know there's a lot of anticipation just to dive deeper into who you are as a person, as a professional. So if it's all right, let's just dive right in.
Let's do this.
Okay, cool. So I guess let's just start with, introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little about yourself.
Sure. Well, I am a native. I'm from Colorado, so born and raised here. I grew up in Evergreen and lived in the mountains a little bit. Actually ended up graduating in Broomfield after my family moved just within my high school career.
Okay.
And then I've just lived in the whole Denver area, literally right around DU for a while. It's Boulder, a number of different areas.
Yeah.
And then landed in Highlands Ranch, but I've been in Highlands Ranch for over 20 years. My son's 20 and I was there since before he was born. So that has definitely been my home and my community for quite a while.
Get out of here. And that's huge perspective, obviously, of being in the community that long and really understanding the different neighborhoods and pockets and people. I think there's so much perspective onto that. So what was the progression of you getting into the business and your career thus far into real estate? What was before and kind of into now?
Sure. Well, I never went to college. I really got more involved in interior design and started doing things for friends and family. And then started doing some staging, and I actually did so much for real estate and real estate professionals that it was kind of my thing. And I've just always been into real estate. I've always been a reader of what's going on in real estate. I remember when the Denver Post had its little real estate section, and I think I was in middle school when I used to start to read that.
I love that.
And I there really wasn't an HGTV back then, but I would have been really focused on that. So just interior design stuff, real estate, the market, and then just the industry in general, what's going on in the areas that I've lived in.
Okay, awesome. And I love that perspective, kind of rewinding a little bit for the interior design portion. So how do you normally, leverage that, or what do you bring to the table with that, just for everybody to know that differentiates you that way?
Sure. Well, I don't consider myself really an interior designer at this point, just because I'm so focused on real estate.
Sure.
But I definitely use it with my clients.
Love it.
Whether it's, listings and homes that I have for sale and just using the things that are in their home or bringing in some new things to just kind of get top dollar for my clients. Okay. But it also helps me just stay connected with my clients. I love helping them furnish their homes after we buy them, and just becoming really part of their kind of advisor as they go. I can visualize things that some people can't see.
Well said.
And I can give them tips on contractors and costs and things like that involved, and then just helping them get settled in their home. It just helps me get to know them and again, stay involved.
Wow. I love that you mentioned that, and with your background, it's truly, and to a lot of people out there, they say full service. I mean, that's above and beyond, which I think is fantastic value to bring to the real estate transaction and to your partnerships.
Yeah, I think it has definitely served me well and served my clients well. And it's great. I do some luxury listings, and it's certainly more important for that type of home.
Sure.
But I've helped just people in the smallest little homes do the littlest things that have made a difference, and it's really rewarding for me too.
I love that. And talking about the luxury end, I think that's important, but also letting everybody know that you're open to, any size or any family and that sort of thing. I think that's important. So, let's go into the next section, and I think it's a great segue into, Joy, what motivates you to do what you do? What's your why, right? What gets you out of bed in the morning, gets excited every day to do what you do to the level you do it at?
I'm a mom. I mean, my son's up at CSU, so he's almost 20 years old, and he certainly doesn't need me every minute of every day anymore.
Sure.
But I still consider him in everything I do. I mean, certainly I'm trying to provide for him, show him that I can accomplish things, show him a good work ethic, be able to have some flexibility and be there for him, but just really show that my career is important too. So definitely he gets me out of bed every day, even though he doesn't know it and he's in his own world doing his college thing. But friends and family, and certainly again being from Colorado, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people here that I can still just be involved with and that get me going. And then for my own confidence, I think just really being good at my job, making sure that I am working hard and that I am knowledgeable about what's going on out there and that I can advise the people that I care about. I think that, it's kind of a joke that all my clients are always my friends or my best friends.
Yeah.
But we become so close during this process. And there's so much that goes into real estate. Sure. And so they're very important to me. It means a lot to me that they trust me, and it definitely gets me out of bed every day.
Okay. And there's a lot of why in there. And so I think it resonates with a lot of people out there. I mean, first and foremost, family is so important. It's everything. Sure. So that's a huge motivator and a great why, and I think that that's going to resonate with a lot. But tagging into your clients, becoming your friends and best friends, that's so great. I mean, that's a part of obviously speaking to the reputation that you have in the community and what you do to the level you do it at. It's great representation. So everybody out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's worked with Joy, so this is great stuff.
Thank you.
Let's get into the advisory portion. This is actually a crowd pleaser when it comes to the viewership inside here, really understanding what the Titans do to grow and scale their business. So Joy, if you could look back at your career thus far, pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next. What's that look like for you?
Well, I started with with Keller Williams before I was with Realty One.
Sure.
And it was a great start to my real estate career. I think that they're great as advisors and educators. I just made great friends and got great connections there and got some great advice. And one thing is, that it really taught me not to work on things that I'm bad at. If there are things that I have as weaknesses, to really let other people help me with that, to leverage kind of help with that. And so I early on hired a transaction coordinator that's kind of my assistant and does a lot of the things that I'm not great at, or that they don't serve me well. It would just take me 3 hours to do things that it takes them an hour to do, and I would probably worry about it. Where I can be more relational and they can be more transactional, doing paperwork and being in front of a computer.
Right.
I'm rarely in front of a computer unless I'm like, on my computer in bed at night looking through homes and just kind of after hours stuff. I'm really out there with people in the community, working with my friends and my clients, but also with colleagues and networking and just, getting a kind of a pulse on what's going on. Okay. And so it's very important for me to be out there, and I think that was great advice that came to me, or something that really allowed my career to skyrocket instead of slowing me down, having me work on the parts of this business that maybe are not my forte.
Wow. And that's big advice and takeaways for everybody who's watching this. When you're looking at it from that standpoint, really leveraging what your successes are and what you really love and you're passionate about. It's getting in front of people, building relationships and rapport. Certain things like, writing up contracts, and not that you're not knowledgeable, you are. You know what's going on, but you're automating certain portions where your time is best spent elsewhere.
Absolutely. And I write my contracts and I negotiate for my clients, but I'd rather be with people and on the phone with people and not tied down to just making sure that we're meeting every deadline. So it's great for me to have someone that kind of checks and double checks me and make sure, it's my job to make sure that we are not risking things while we're going through a transaction. And so it's good for me to have someone that helps me watch over that process.
I love that. And there's so many people out there that they're watching this or listening to this right now, and they're asking themselves, like, when's the right time? And, I guess, is there a right time for you to do that earlier on in your career, later on? I mean, you just kind of know, right?
Yeah, I think that when I was talking with you earlier about just the fact that when you have good people working for you, you'd probably pay them 3 times what you're paying them. It's worth every penny. Yeah. When you have people that are not doing the job correctly or are not making it worthwhile, then that's really a struggle. But I've been very fortunate. I've had great ownership in the offices I've been in, great managers and brokers that are working with me, and then great collaboration. as well as just people that are really helping me with my weaknesses. And again, it's just great not to work on those weaknesses, but make sure that I kind of have someone to cover me for that, and then I can work on my strengths and work with my clients.
Yeah, I love that. It's literally putting the pieces of the puzzle together for the end user, which is the client, right?
Sure.
Making it as smooth as possible, and I think that's great. Something that you mentioned, and hopefully everybody's picking up on this and taking great notes, is the colleagues and the the mentors and being able to share and bounce ideas off each other. That's so crucially important for success in any realm, whether you're newer or seasoned into the business, right? I mean,
oh, absolutely. We all call each other and ask, if people have staging questions or some interior design things, or maybe even ways in which they're going to remodel homes and stuff. They sometimes call me, certainly not a contractor, but they know that's just something that I've had some experience with. If I'm looking at numbers with investors and stuff, then I'm calling someone that knows more about that and just making sure I'm advising my clients properly. So that's what's great about being in an office where you trust your colleagues, and then just having that open communication is so important.
Okay, cool. You heard it here, everybody. So hopefully you take that to heart. That's really, really great advice. So, Joy, when it comes down to it, this is segueing into the next question, which is tricky, and it is the challenge question.
Okay.
Now, this one is tough because we all deal with challenges in our lives, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. But if you're comfortable sharing a challenge that you dealt with in your life, that you overcame, became stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
Well, it's been some years, so it's not yesterday, but I did go through a divorce. It was certainly a difficult period of time, and it did kind of shift for me. It made me know that I had to kind of put some focus on providing for myself and for my child, and although it was really difficult, it's so great to be able to relate to people, to have some compassion for people and the things that they're going through, whether it's divorce or death or job loss. Just being more relatable. None of us are perfect, or none of us have it easy, but certainly I would say I've been very fortunate. I mean, I along the way have had so much as far as support and friendships, and I have been very fortunate with that. But there are difficult times, and there are things that people are going through. Buying a house isn't always looking at pretty houses, and so it's so fun to be able to really help someone and see them make good decisions for their family, be able to relate to what their kids are going through or what they're dealing with. And so that has made me strong in that sense. But again, I just like to be able to think that I'm relatable. I again have had some of my favorite transactions be very small, maybe not extremely rewarding financially. And some of the more difficult ones have been bigger transactions and more money-wise and luxury-wise. Some of the things that people might want or might strive for, there's just all different things going on within those communities and those people, and it's so great to be able to really know people in depth.
I love that, and first of all, thanks for sharing, because it's not easy to air your stuff out in front of everybody, but I love the fact that you just we all have challenges and you address that, but taking it to a positive note and having a really positive spin on something that you don't want to go through, and it's not the best of situations, but being able to be closer to your clients and service them to a better standard and being really relatable, not just to clients, but to people in general, I think is a beautiful way for you to look at that, Joy, and it's amazing. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully everybody appreciates that, because it's not easy to do. So let's go a little softer, if that's okay.
Yes.
This is actually one of my favorite questions. When it comes down to it, it's the travel back in time question. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Joy?
Well, actually, this one's easy because I got my real estate license when I was 19 years old. I first got my real estate license when I was 19 years old. I didn't feel confidence in selling homes to people and helping them make these huge decisions and huge purchases. And I really went the route of kind of working with a real estate investment trust company. And did some sales and things with them. But that, they don't really love for you to have your license. They new home sales and REITs don't usually want you to have that because it can be a little bit of a conflict of interest if I'm focusing on selling real estate on the side. So I really dove into my work there, which is great and gave me great experience. But I wasn't smart enough to hold on to my license in some way, and so I did have to kind of start over. And when I really wanted to go into real estate, 5-6 years ago, I had to start over, and so testing and studying and taking.
Oh, the struggle is real.
Yeah, it was really difficult. So I wish I had been smarter. I think if you're in real estate and you're not able to dive in 100%, there's still ways to continue to work your license and continue your education, and maybe work towards a time period when you're ready to go all in. And I can imagine if I had my license for 30 years versus 6 or whatever, So I think that's easy. I wish I had done that differently, but I wouldn't trade my experiences and all that I did do with my work. And I'm not sad about that. I just wish the process was a little easier.
Yeah, right. I mean, I love that share, though, because it's interesting for reflection for all of us. When we look back in our lives, we don't have a crystal ball, and we can't go back in time and change things. But I think that all of us, if we had a little bit more tentative nature into what we're currently doing and what is the best decision, and try to look as far into the future as we can, I think we'd be in better places. But like you said, you wouldn't trade it, and you've learned so much, and the struggle and any positive or negative nature that you've had in your life makes you who you are today. Right? You wouldn't be that same person.
And I think that realtors get really disappointed. It's a tough industry. It really is. It's
great,
sales in general. But I think, I don't even know. I don't know the numbers. I always say, I use percentages about 0% of the time. I don't know. Awesome. I don't know those numbers, and I don't track all that stuff. But I do know that there's a huge number of realtors that really are not working full time, that are not in the business and not in the industry, not having all of those transactions. I think that they can find ways to stay involved and just kind of plug through the system, and I think that can give them that experience further down the line. So I would have done that differently, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's good advice. And again, not just for young Joy, but everybody watching and listening to this is good stuff. So Joy, this question is fantastic. Secondary for everybody out there really loves to hear what the Titans are feeding their minds, how they're growing their brains, right?
Sure.
Constantly learning and that sort of thing. So what books are you reading, podcasts you're listening to, influencers in social media? I mean, how are you feeding your mind?
I have a book that I've read or kind of reread. I like to say I'm always reading it, called Fierce Conversations. And I don't know the author. I've heard however many times I've Fierce Conversations. It's just about having conversations with people, and it's not about challenging conversations, really. I don't know why the weird word fierce, but more so just talking. Silence is not golden in this industry. I will tell you right now, if you don't hear from your clients for a while, if you're not hearing from someone you're collaborating with, something's most definitely wrong.
Please listen to that. You should rewind that and listen to that again. That was golden right there.
But it's true, and it is really hard. It's better to just have conversations. There's a problem when there are not conversations going on. And so the book is really about someone that goes in and helps just all sorts of businesses with having conversations and making things work within their industry. It's not really a real estate only book, but a great book. So I'm constantly reading that. I'm also reading a book called Can't Hurt Me, and I think it's Danny Goggins. He's in the armed forces, one of the most. Is it decorated or declarated?
Decorated. Yeah, honored. That's it.
Really, very well known for just accomplishing so much. And he just had a tough upbringing, and it's talking about just overcoming hard things and hardships and making the most of your life. And I just started it, but it's super interesting. Awesome. Other than that, I am. I really shouldn't laugh about HGTV because I'm focused on HGTV, a TV show that I think is on Netflix called Stay Here.
Oh, interesting.
That's about real estate and Airbnbs, and really the business part of it and the design part of it. It's super interesting. Everybody has Netflix now, but honestly, it is addictive and it's super fun, and it's all over the States, so it's kind of interesting to see what's out there. But I love that kind of thing. I love some TED Talks, and I'm really focused on Facebook and social media, and just actually that for knowing my friends and my clients. I mean, it's so great to run into people and be like, I heard your son got a scholarship, or
so good.
you know that it's great. So as much as social media can be difficult, I'm so grateful for it and love just knowing what people have going on in their lives.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of different perspective into there as how you're feeding your mind and fueling it. It's all beautiful ways. So just as everybody knows, I'll have links in the comments down below so that you can follow along and feed your mind the same way that Joy is. So that's really, really great. Joy, this has been a spectacular episode and interview. So many good takeaways and really wholesome things to get to know you and in the community and what you do. I want to finish this up with a final question.
Okay.
And this ends up being, if you could sum up yourself as a professional, as a person, with a quote or a mantra that you live by, what does that look like for you?
I don't know if it's really a famous quote. I think it's just something that I tend to say, but I think if you do the right things every day, the right things happen. I mean, we all have hard things go on, and sometimes you just can't figure out why something doesn't work.
Sure.
But I think if I just every day make sure I'm doing right by my clients, make sure I'm working honestly and hard, and it tends to be that then the right things just happen, you know.
Wow.
And if you can expect that out of other people because you're doing it, then you have these great relationships, and again, just can be respected in this industry and enjoy the people that we work with. So I really do try to say that to myself, especially when I'm trying to work through something. I just try to do what I know is right.
Sure.
And you know what's reasonable and fair, but what's the right thing for everybody, and it has gotten me at least this far.
Wow. Joy, I mean, that is a beautiful sum up of you as a person. I think that hits so many different notes. I just want to thank you again for being on the show. You are an official Real Estate Titan.
My pleasure.
Actually, let's get a hug. Let's hug it in here.
Thank you.
So thanks again. I'm super honored to have you. And as everybody knows, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here at Real Estate Titans, please show us some love. Give us a like on the Facebook page. Subscribe to our iTunes channel and YouTube channel as well. Share it out if you want to with some colleagues or friends. Thank you so much. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon. A different Titan, a different location. We'll catch you guys in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Thanks.